Oh, there we go. Move me in the middle. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Kansas City and welcome to Explorers Expresso for a Wednesday afternoon, not morning afternoon, because it's afternoon for you folks. It's a morning for us folks. Let's see here. There we go. There we go. Glad you're along today. A couple of things to get to. Let's adjust the camera there. Anyway, I hope you're doing well. Hope you guys are all doing well on a Wednesday. First game of the road trips in the books. Winner last night, 8-4 over Kansas City. And the X's continue to rule the Monarchs. It's been that story this year, the last 2 years. And you thought last year special. Well, this year is pretty impressive, too. You get a win last night here, and it beats last year's number of 8. And I believe that matches the all-time head-to-head record of wins against Kansas City. I've gone back a little bit, and I think that's the case. So we'll double-check that as we go forward into tomorrow. But only so much time with the game notes, etc. But anyway, good news there. X is winning last night 8-4. I'm glad you're along here. And I wanted some exotic location, but with the time frame of the game being over and doing post-game stuff and trying to unwind a little bit, and then getting it basically starts again the next day for us to put out quality that I think's decent enough quality. It's not the greatest, but I think it's really good considering the time allotment of notes and those kind of things. We got to jump right back into it. This thing continues every day. You get a few minutes off after the game and a little bit the next morning, but it comes at you in waves. And now, granted, this time of year, there's less change because you don't have players coming in like you would maybe a month ago, but you do have a pretty decent routine you've got to go through, get that going. So anyway, that's what I tell you this afternoon. I know a lot of folks want to know the news, if there is any news. I don't really have anything for that I didn't tell you last night. They don't have really any update than what they told us last night, which what I'm talking about is during the broadcast last night, fifth inning, Solomon Bates left with one out. Some discomfort of some sort. Everybody I've talked to seemed to sort of feel precautionary was the story last night. Not actually seen him in the hotel today, but that's not uncommon. I've only seen one player come through, and it's not uncommon that the way this place sits, the Speedway's this way to my south, shopping Target this way, this direction is the field and the mall, but we're in the main door. The main door actually faces the west, but there's nothing that way. So a lot of the guys will go out the back door anyway, going toward the mall, that direction on the restaurant, so all that toward the Target. That's all that way. So it's not uncommon that I'm sitting here and not seeing anybody. The only way I'd see somebody as they drove, and the one guy I did see, he and his girlfriend had driven. They had their car. So that's not completely uncommon that I wouldn't see a lot of folks. Last night I stayed at the ballpark late too. Wrapped up the game story. I didn't get back over here till 11:30, 11:45, something like that. So most of the guys are already walked back over by the time that I got out of there, and would probably be unwinding, or if they've already gone, if they were going to eat or going wherever they were going to go to last night, they'd have done that. I wouldn't have seen them. So again, it's not totally unheard of that I wouldn't see folks. Steve Montgomery said he had no updates about 10 minutes ago. That's why I waited as long as I could. Again, what happened last night, apparently there was some tightness in the forearm, fingers area, that kind of deal. It wasn't a shoulder or a ligament situation. It was down lower, from what I understand. As I mentioned in the postgame last night, again, not a doctor, but that's what Steve told me last night. Bruce Fishback, and actually Solomon went over the rail, watched the team, was smiling when he left, and then went to the clubhouse. Again, this is not uncommon either. Guys will do this after a start. They'll walk to the clubhouse, ice themselves down, and oftentimes walk in. A lot of times we won't even notice when we're here because the clubhouses are in right field. Unlike in Sioux City, guy goes down, gets the ice, comes back up, because the ballpark, the way it sits, the clubhouses are behind the dugouts. Well, here, you got to walk all the way out the right field, sort of like Lincoln or a little bit like Milwaukee. Chicago's that way. But you come back, and oftentimes you don't even notice. Between innings, you're watching the show, you're watching, or in my case, I'm doing my piloting the broadcast between innings, making sure the spots are running and all that. And I don't always look out and see a guy walk back the 2 minutes that I'm in the break. And sometimes they'll even come to this, they'll walk maybe in warm-ups or something, they'll walk back, but they'll have their uniform on, but they'll have a hoodie on, they'll walk through the stands around and come down. But last night, Bruce and Solomon came back an inning later after he left the game. He left with the dugout, went clubhouse, then came back, and then that's not uncommon, and that's about what routine is. So, praying he's okay. I know Steve Montgomery would be beside himself, and he's really handled this whole season well. There's been, for this club to be where this club is, I think is a tip of the cap to Mongo, Bobby, and Josh, and what they've done to get ball players in here. You've had stretches where you've missed. Of course, you had Team Canada where you missed your most consistent hitter this year, Matt Lloyd. He was gone at the time. Jake Sanford was with the ball club then too. He kind of struggled, eventually got released, but he was a big part of things early. You're missing Vince Fernandez now. You had Nogowski here. He left. He's back again. You've had stretches where Alfredo Jimenez was unavailable for about 10 games. You've had Tyler Rando down. He missed time. You've had pitchers left and right. Weatherby, top of the card, who just came off. You lost Hasler. Who else am I missing? I know I'm missing somebody. Mitchell Verberg. Remember, you lost Verberg and Weatherby in the same 2 innings. So you've had a lot of bodies coming and going in injuries, and this thing just kept on plugging away. I know I'm missing somebody here. I know I'm missing somebody. Kyle Kasser missed the back issue for a while. You didn't have him for quite a while. So this team, really, and that is the nature of the beast. I don't think anybody's sorry for you across the way. Kansas City had 9 healthy bodies last night. Now, I would tell you those healthy bodies are all pretty good. And much like Sioux City, those healthy bodies are all pretty good. But you've had your issues too. So, again, and I know that Mongo, he's even told me a couple times, it's just been crazy. So the news on that is that no news. So that sounds like, again, not trying to give you too much or too little. I think it sounds pretty promising. Usually when a guy had an upper arm issue, it's obviously more painful. It's painful to watch. You pretty much know. This was not one where a guy rolled over and held his arm and he kind of just didn't feel something right. He kind of squatted down and, and these guys know their bodies. It reminded me a little bit of what Nate Gherkin had happen to him a couple of weeks ago. Gherkin had a very similar thing where Gherkin had a very similar feeling. He just didn't feel like it was an alarm bell that went off. Okay. That's basically what he told me. Now, I'm not saying that's what happened again. I'm not talking to Solomon today. So that's all on me, but we will get more updates for you on the broadcast side. This afternoon when we go on the air, I'll have a little more for you. But again, I don't expect to have any diagnosis. It leads me to believe, and again, this is sort of the protocols too as well, that when a guy gets hurt, like for example, let's go at the Trenton Toplicar situation. That was clearly a concussion situation. He lost, woozy. He got hit in the head. Pretty easy. I say easy, but it's a diagnosis that's not hard to figure out. There's protocols in place, and those protocols were done. Now, this situation was some kind of tightness or whatever, and those protocols are different. They don't require necessarily, being under an MRI or whatever, a CAT scan, whatever you do for a concussion. This is one of more of a wait and see. And if there is no discomfort, there's no reason to go check out any damage, because that doesn't seem to be the case. And that wasn't the case in the first place. So again, protocols in place and watching and what we know and what we see. You hate to speculate as a broadcaster or a journalist, but your eyes tell you, injuries are never good, but trying to paint a pretty good picture of the best I can on it. I don't think, this question came up last night. I doubt you'll see him pitch again this season during the regular season because you've only got the 7 games left. It was possible he was going to pitch a little bit over the weekend, but it would not have been, and a lot of it depended on what happened last night. I think last night, personally, this is just me, this is not coming from anybody else, but I think last night you would have seen him go 7 innings, 6 innings anyway. That would have been the case because I think they were open to give him 6, shut him down for a bit, and maybe give him a inning or 2 over the weekend, just kind of a maintenance inning because you got those games to play with, assuming you get the win today or tomorrow and you get the weekend with a playoff spot. So that's what I thought would happen. And, I did not think we'd see him go 8 or 9 last night. I thought 7. And also the circumstances dictated. Team was up at one time, clearly up. That ball game was pretty much in hand 6th inning onward. It was 8-3. It was 7-0 when they scored their runs, made it 7-3. And those really were I chalked those up to Solomon leaving the ball game. Trenton had to come in and cold, and that's where I chalked that up to. So anyway, you got out of it. They didn't get the big number. They got the home run late. That was a solo shot. You did what you had to do. So with that, I will take your questions and comments. It won't be very long today. I got a pretty busy afternoon to get to as well. If you heard the pregame last night, you may have heard a little glitch in the system. It sounded like that was a poor edit. Well, it was because it's the best edit I could do on the interview with Steve Montgomery. I somehow ran out of juice in my tape recorder, which never happens. I always carry a spare pair of batteries, but only had 1. How I carried 1 battery always carried 2 extras in my case, my little handheld case. Somewhere, somehow, 1 fell out, and I don't know how the heck that happened, but it's like, anyway. So, anyway, all good. Take your questions, comments. We are here in Kansas City. This is Explorers Expresso. I'm Dan Vaughn. Glad you're along here. We're in the lobby. Not really the lobby, kind of the waiting breakfast nook of the hotel here in the city. Looking out the window, I'm looking at the breeze, and what little breeze, it's a little breezy, not gusting, but it's breezy. I think I see a north wind again. I think, although the X's hit 2 home runs, 1 against the north breeze yesterday. Just looks to be that direction at the moment, northerly. This ballpark with a southern wind is, oh my gosh. With all that space and left, it is a mess out there to get one to stay in the ballpark. But anyway, league sitting out today. Now, I don't know where they got this. Now, this is me telling you I don't know where they got this because Sioux Falls lost last night. They're 2 games behind you, but yet can clinch a playoff spot tonight with a win. Now, all I can figure, and this is all I can figure, is they must have the head-to-head with Lincoln because that would mean that would be the only way. I can't figure out how they could clinch. They could technically clinch tonight. You couldn't. I found that a very weird scenario, but I think the reason is because Lincoln has the head-to-head with Sioux City. The X's would have to lose every game, and Lincoln win every game for the X's not make the postseason. That's where we're sitting at right now. Sioux City would have to lose every game. Lincoln had to win every game, and they'd win on a tiebreaker. Any loss at all for Lincoln, will it be today, tomorrow, Sunday, Monday, Friday, Saturday, they would not make the postseason, and the X's would be guaranteed a spot, no matter what. Now, as far as how they play off of Fargo and with Sioux Falls, I was on the impression, I know they don't own the tiebreaker against Sioux Falls. So my guess is Sioux Falls must own the tiebreaker against, they own the tiebreaker against Fargo. Refresh that. Take 2, Vaughn. Fargo owns the tiebreaker against Lincoln. Lincoln's got to finish ahead of them, but I believe Sioux Falls owns it against Lincoln as well. has to be. Because again, the league comes out with Sioux Falls and Sioux City go both clinch tonight. But again, the magic number for the X's is 1. The 2 games behind them are Sioux Falls. I don't know how that's possible. Unless, again, the only way they can see that. So anyway, appearing at those game notes, I'll tell you too, just what's left for everybody. Here we go. And that is in page number 2, top of the column. Let me get a little glare here. Sorry. Can we let you win tonight? I have nothing to do with the winning and losing, although I think it's just karma. I'm kidding, Snito. By the way, Snito last night, he and his partner, Janae, sitting down in row 1 here in Legends Field in Kansas City. Snito did not make the play. She did. And it was like very nonchalant, like as if she's done it before. Like, yes, he's not going to do the play. He won't make a play on a foul ball, but I will. It was very, very impressive last night, by the way. Quickly here, 6 games to play. I'm sorry, Lincoln's got 5 to play. You think it's karma? I'm just kidding. Lincoln's got 5 left. They're off tonight. Now remember, they played 2 yesterday. Lincoln is playing, and Cleveland are off tonight. There's a huge volleyball game going on at Memorial Stadium today in Lincoln. Women's volleyball is huge there in Lincoln, always top ranked. They had a huge, how many times I say huge? Last year against Creighton, they played a game there in Omaha I think there was 18,000 there, something like that. They're expecting well over 90,000 today there, or maybe 80,000, something like that there, watching volleyball today. I don't know who they're playing, but obviously parking's needed. They use, whenever the Huskers are home on a Saturday in the fall, there's no baseball being played on Saturday. We've seen that come in time and time again with Lincoln. But anyway, they got 5 games left, 1 tomorrow at home, 4 away at King County, which that series may mean absolutely 0, but it could mean something. Fargo's got 5 left. They got 6 home, and they're all against either Lake Country or Winnipeg. Lake Country's got an interesting finish. They're in Fargo, and they come here to Kansas City, and they ain't clinched nothing yet. I mean, they're on the verge, but they got the toughest road to hoe, I think, of anyone that needs to. They need to win and keep winning. They can't afford you in that East Division. Any of those other teams, King County, Lake Country, those 2 teams get cold. Cleveland's right there on their bumper game back. I'll get to that in a moment. Sioux Falls has got 5 left, 1 at home tonight against Winnipeg. Then they're at Cleveland, which is going to be huge. And there's an off day for them on Thursday. So Sioux Falls, that's why I can't figure out how they can clinch. I don't know. Sioux City 7 left, the 7 all on the road, and then Kansas City's got 6 at home. Kansas City has Lake Country in the back end of this one, and I suppose they could go to a tailspin and lose everyone. I doubt it. Again, I expect them fully to win one of the next 2 ball games and go on to the postseason as division winners. I don't think there's any doubt about that. They've proven all year long they are the best team record-wise against the league. I think that's clear. Now, do they have problems? Sure. This year, there's no team that I think has the great resume. I would have told you Milwaukee up until about a week ago, but it looks like their resume may not be as great either. In Chicago, they're playing great right now, but they've had as many 9-game winning streaks. They've had losing streaks. I mean, or 8-game winning streaks as 8-game losing streaks, right? There's capable of reeling off 8 wins and losing 8 in a row. That's what's happened to them this year. Was it 9 losses in a row? That's right. Anyway, yes, love brisket, Chris. Anyway, so magic number again. I have 7 for Sioux Falls, but again, the league has 1. I have 7 for them to make the postseason. The league has them at 1. I have us at 1, but if I guess you're going to go against Lincoln, and again, they must have the tiebreaker, so that must be where I'm at. Milwaukee, here's the deal. There's some really good teams in this league, and they wear uniforms too, as I always say. I know that Kansas City handled them easily. They handled Sioux City easily up there, but they lost 2 or 3. And quite frankly, could have lost all 3, except for one bad inning, and it was a bad inning. It was a bad inning. Don't get me wrong. Atar Tokar's inning that night was bad. It was not his best work. And if you get out of that inning, you wind up going the rest of the way. You outscore them. It was 5-1, or more than that, 6-1. So, I mean, but I don't think anybody's resume is shiny, sparkling, looks great. I mean, I can make an argument. You want to go the negative argument rate? Let's do that. I mean, Milwaukee looks like they're pedestrian too. That their offense has some hits and misses. Their pitching has been really good. Their bullpen's been sort of okay, except for their closer. Kansas City has a hard time filling the baseball. I mean, they have a hard time. I don't think last night's unearned run cost them the ball game, but the X's feasted. Once you made that one error, it was all over. You know, they were first and second, sack bunt. It's going to be second and third and one out, as opposed to being it was first and was it second and third? I guess it would have been first and third and a run home. So I mean, dude, amazing this show, getting the good work. Molly, good to see you. By the way, I felt terrible last night. I didn't mention you last night, Molly. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're feeling better. Molly, we missed her on the last homestand. And boy, was her handiwork all over that place. Molly wasn't there, but you could feel her because she's the chief reason we had a huge crowd on Friday, and that crowd carried over to Saturday, Sunday. That would be the assist. I mean, that's the reason we had numbers was because of Molly. Great numbers. Appreciate Molly. Kind words. They're very kind. I wish I had more highlights, but it's too late in the year to fix the bugs in the system. I won't worry about it next year. Better keep beating Kansas City's bunting and stealing. Mongo picked up at last night. It's like my old mate Paul Morgan always says, Sneedo, in Australia. Which, by the way, you get T-shirts for that. You know, put the ball in play. See what happens. And I told that story last night in the air a little bit. I told it last week when the X's had a bunting situation too. There was a guy named Mark Hamburger. A lot of you folks may not remember. Big leaguer, played for St. Paul a few years ago. He's really good. He was the ace of the league. Hamburger was pretty much a shoe-in every time you go out consume for a win. A Wednesday day game or a Thursday day game over in Gary one late August, he just got bunted to death. And the Railcats would lay down 4 bunts in an inning and bunted this guy to death and bunted him to frustration where he was A, there was bored, B, he was pissed off they couldn't make the plays. D, why are you bunting on me? And his head was not right. And suddenly here comes a doink single. Here comes 2 runs, doink, another single. Suddenly you're up, 3-4-0, and they wanted to win a game against St. Paul in a game that you were not probably going to win. So, yeah, I would say you're right on there. Let's see what we got here. The Vine. Mom, it's a little early to be drinking. Yeah, they signed Molly in. There we go. You guys assigned Molly. Let's go on. Fargo. Fargo, their pitching has been good lately. The young rookies have been good, but their veterans have been okay. But their bullpen's not been that great. I mean, I gave Garrett Alexander had a really good game last night, but, can you trust? I mean, their defense is great. Their offense is timely, but they're not the offense they had. They're not the same team they were last year. Okay? And that's saying something because they were a really great team last year. Lincoln, they may be the yo-yo of yo-yos. I mean, one minute they look like they've owned the league, the next minute they don't. I mean, what's Sioux City's issue? Sioux City's issue, perhaps, the X's don't club the ball around the ballpark like folks want to see. It's not what they do. So there's a, their resume has that mark on it. I mean, everybody's got something, right? Chicago, again, as good as they look one minute, they also, again, they won 8 in a row or 9 in a row. They lost 9 in a row. I mean, they've done that. No other team this year has done that. They've done both. They've yo-yoed both directions. Who am I missing here? Cleburne clubs the ball outstanding, but their pitching they're like Sioux Falls. Sioux Falls hits the ball. Sioux Falls offense in that ballpark is phenomenal. Sioux Falls can't get anybody out. I mean, they literally bullpen gave up a game here. They had a lead here in Kansas City. They gave 7 runs to the bullpen. 7. You can't do that in this postseason. So anyway, what I tell you is, it's not like, and I was going back to some numbers in 21. It was clearly evident who the best team in the league was that year, Kansas City. And Sioux City was probably 3rd. And Sioux City had to fight like tooth and nail to get in the postseason. They did in 21, played the wild card game. And on this date in Sioux City history, Jose Sermo breaks the franchise mark for home runs. They get in the postseason, a 3-way tie. They finally battle through it. They got to play Cleveland. They win the game in Cleveland, and they play Kansas City, which was a juggernaut. But outside of that, last year you had 2 really good teams in Fargo and Kansas City. And Milwaukee wasn't terrible. I mean, but you could have drawn on the hat the best team, and it could have been any of those 3, and wound up being Fargo, who was finished as the number 2 seed. So I tell you is that, these things are wide open. And while, claiming first place and things of that nature are important, there's a lot more that goes into it. And that's why I think that, you've got to feel pretty good about where you sit if you're Sioux City. I'm not telling you that you're going to win the league, but dadgummit, why can't you? Why can't you? If anybody tells you there's otherwise, then they're not paying attention, because they haven't paid attention to this league long enough. So anyway, where are we at here? Yep. Let's see here. Nate says, and he is up in Fargo, right? Can we watch them here? Yeah, Moorhead. Not sure if anyone saw this, but we had a great, yes, close. Yes, I saw the play last night, and I would just mention Alexander. Was the Alexander play you're talking about? I saw it, and yes, really good stuff, Nate. I saw that, and I mentioned that play a minute ago. Yeah, you guys check that out. It's good stuff, man. Again, if you're a Fargo fan, do you say there's no chance? I mean, you got 2 good rookie pitchers out there that have looked really good against Sioux City. I mean, really good. That Davis and the other kid, Kelvin, drew a blank. I mean, those 2 guys were phenomenal last week. I mean, they were really good in a series you had to win. They were really good. I mean, really good. I don't want to see them again. I take my chances, but I don't want to see them. I feel much better facing McGovern or Grauer, who are legends. Those guys are flat out legends. Do you want to face those 4? At the same time, I mean, look at what this club has. Let's assume Solomon's okay, and I think he will be. Okay, Mitchell Verberg, I think he's pretty solid. Austin Drury, been very solid. Boy, Austin Drury is 2-1 with a 2.70 in August. Throw that out there. Who am I missing here? John Sheeks. Pretty good and well last time, right? And Weatherby's been banged up, but if he can get stretched out, he's been really good. Yeah, Trilton Toplikar. I mean, all he did was come here last time. He pitched in relief last night, but he went 6 strong here, got a win last time on the road in Kansas City. So it's not like, you've got some arms down there. Then I would tell you what you ran out last night, Brosher, Coons, and Rakowski. Now, granted, you have the home run to Herman. Who doesn't give up home runs to Herman, right? Outside of that, Coons struck out 4 of the 5 batters he got out were strikeouts. In fact, 4 of the 6, pardon me. 6, right? Anyway, so a lot to talk about, a lot of good stuff there. Last night, you could have won the division. Yes. Fargo. Yeah, I think you know what? Again, I think Fargo and Sioux City are the very same situation, because Fargo is sort of like, well, they were the champions last year. They're not as good. Yeah. Fargo's team this year is not as good as last year's team. True. But last year's team doesn't play this year's team. And this year's team doesn't play in last year's league. And last year's team doesn't play in this year's league. So you toss that out. Heck, Sioux City finished strong 8-3 last year to close out the year, but lost 3 in a row to close the year against Lincoln. You're not having to play Lincoln this year. You're not playing them head-to-head at the end of the year. So there's that. So there's a lot of those things in play. But I would tell you, if you're sitting in Sioux City or sitting in Fargo, you're thinking, well, why not us? Because I think you got enough at the plate. Like we talk about in this show, you just need 5 runs. Sioux City needs 5 runs, 5.8, but 5 runs. 5 runs. You don't allow more than 4.8, you're okay. And that's what when this thing's successful, which is what happened last night. It didn't matter if it was 6 runs, 5 runs, 2. I mean, optically it looked better because the home run wasn't going to kill you. But, you hate to be in a 1-run ball game, but hey, you're going to be in those postseason. So, I mean, you figure that at least from at least from a standpoint of Fargo and Sioux City, you feel pretty good. I mean, I think really a lot of folks have already wanted to, especially the East. And let me pull the curtain back on the East. The East has got a lot of really good fans, but they're new fans. Okay, your legacy franchises in this league, Winnipeg, Sioux City, Sioux Falls, Fargo, Lincoln, have been doing this a while. They all play in this West Division. Now, Cleveland's not in our division, but I consider them West, right? And then you look in that East Division, Gary's been around a while. Milwaukee's new. Chicago's new. King County's been around, but they weren't in partner league. What am I missing? Lake Country. So you got a lot of new fans who don't realize the league started in 2006, and the Northern League played since 92 or 93. There's a lot of history that shows you that, everybody's all salivating over Chicago, Milwaukee, what they might do, but they can't play for the finals. And one of those 3 teams behind them is going to be scary as heck. And that's why I keep telling you guys in the broadcast, just because you're number 1 seed doesn't mean you win it all. It hasn't happened that often. It happened in 21 because Kansas City was by far, may have been the best team to ever play in this league. I don't think there's any argument about that. I mean, the Wichita team Wichita team one year that didn't win it was pretty good. They lost to Gary. Laredo had a really good team in 16, right? That was pretty solid. There was 2 back-to-back winners in Winnipeg, but I don't think they were both number 1 seeds. I think one was a 2 and one was a 1. So I'm telling you, just because you're number 1 doesn't mean squat in this league. It all matters when it comes down to those postseason matchups. And it's a different animal altogether. That doesn't mean Kansas City's not the favorite, because they should be. Their body of work says they should be. Milwaukee, Chicago should be number 2 because their body of work should be. But don't sit here in the finals weekend for Miles Wolf Cup and go, oh my gosh, I can't believe Sioux City's there. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that King County's there. It happens every year. Granted, last year may have been a little different because Fargo and Kansas City were pretty close. They're a game apart. So Fargo getting in with the champion was not a huge surprise. But I'll take you back to 2019. 2019, it was St. Paul, your winner. Your number 1 seed would have been your division winner would have been Kansas City. They didn't win. They won their division, I believe, the best record, and they lost in the first round because they were beat up. 18, they were a wild card. 17, Winnipeg. 16, Winnipeg. I mean, Gary won it as a wild card. 13, 14 would have been, was that Wichita? They were the best team that year, one of the best teams ever. 15, 16 Winnipeg. I'm doing this by memory here. So anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is, I get off track, is that there ain't no foregone conclusions here. And for anyone out there that's worried about Fargo's got no chance, or Sioux City's got no chance, or Sioux Falls has got no chance, you haven't paid attention. And somebody was saying it on the chat, and I love these chats. I love these chats that you guys do, these fan chats, were saying that Milwaukee's kind of rolled over, letting Chicago win the division. I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not. That's what happens in this league the last 2 weeks of the season. It goes like this every stinking year. And I was sitting in this stadium 4 years ago when St. Paul was here, and Kansas City walked them off, thought they might have a chance for a postseason win. But at the same moment, Lincoln walked off, or Gary walked off and over Lincoln and sent Lincoln onto the postseason, or sent Gary onto the postseason, whatever the case may be. I mean, that crap happens every year. I mean, what was it 2 years ago? Cleveland had to win just one game at home. One game at home to clinch a playoff spot. They didn't. They got swept at home in the last weekend, but made the postseason by virtue of Lincoln losing the last game of the year. That happens every year. And that's why I say in June and July, every year, this comes down the final weekend. Now, granted, we know that Kansas City is going to be in. We know Milwaukee and Chicago, but how they all finish in the pecking order and the storylines are still yet to be written. It may not be as exciting as 21 or 20 or whatever, but it's going to happen. Heck, last year it came down to last game of the year to figure out who the number one seed was. So anyway, I know I got Evangelical here. Where are we at here? Let's see here. Northern League 93. Is that 99? Did I say 93? 1993? Yeah. Let's see here. Where are we at here? Let me get some of these here. So I think Jason, you nailed it, because if you're Fargo, you're kind of sitting there going, well, we're the 2 seed or the 4 seed. It doesn't matter. We like what we got. And I think it's the same thing with Sioux City and Sioux Falls. Just get in. 3 years ago, or 4, actually it was the 2000, I did a story last night on this in the pregame. It was the 2016 season. See, back then, you had 3 divisions and a wild card. So your division winner got in, and that wild card was a big deal. And there was a 3-way tie with the division in the Central. It went down the final week of the season, and Sioux City made it. The wild card, I believe, that year was, I think it was Lincoln. I think that's right. But anyway, you had division winners, and it comes down the final weekend. But anyway, the way it used to be, now it's just get in, because now division winner doesn't mean what it used to be. I mean, sure, you got to pick your opponent, but let me give you a little secret. Except for, I could be very wrong, folks, but I still believe Kansas City will pick the shortest trip. That's what they're going to do. Even if they get swept by Sioux City, they're going to pick the shorter trip. I think they will. Well, let me rephrase that. If they get swept by Sioux City, they might not. But you got to play them sometime, right? You can't dodge teams in the postseason. You got to play them. Now, maybe you're hoping somebody takes care of the business for you, and that's probably what they would be hoping for if it was Sioux City. But I believe Kansas City is going to pick the shorter trip. And right now, the shorter trip is going to be Sioux City. I hate to burst the bubble, folks that want to think that because it's a big rivalry thing, or going to pick the easier team. That's not it at all. It's going to be best bus miles. Kansas City can pack them up next Tuesday, leave midday, be in Sioux City in the afternoon, work out if they want to, or not work out. They can have a nice team meal and relax in the hotel and not be worried about driving up the day of the game. Why not? Or they can drive an hour more to Sioux Falls, or they're not going to drive to Fargo. No. I mean, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I doubt that's the case. I think very, very, very likely scenario is, and now the only scenario where that may not be the case is if, let's say Kansas City does get swept. I don't think that'll happen, but they do. And they say, we're going to take our chance with Fargo. That's 8 hours from here to go play one game and come back. Now it's doable if they're playing 2 games, which they did that in 21. In 21, Kansas City chose to play 2 games on the road and 1 at home. If they had that option, that'd be a different story. And that was in the finals. They chose 2 up there and came home to play. Began the series up there for 2, and you had the 3 at home. That's a 5-game series. But that's not what they're going to do. So anyway, I got way off track here. Let's see here. We got here Jason, good stuff. Yeah, I agree with him totally. It was the Alexander play. He said, yep. I don't want to play CC in the playoffs. I don't play anybody in the playoffs. Can they just give us a trophy? Can we just get the trophy? Can we get the Miles World trophy, be done with it? Wait. It'd be great if you could. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I love when we have folks tune in. We try. A little engine that could in our little broadcast. We try our little broadcast. We don't have the bells and whistles a lot of folks have, but dadgummit, you're going to learn something. Something. I'm not sure what. I'll tell you something you didn't know, maybe. Yeah, mom's partial. She'd think I was good if I was like a criminal. So let's see here. Let's go down here. Sneedo, what he got to say here? Yeah, yeah, right. It's funny. Sneedo, you got a future in writing, by the way. Thank you, mate. Let's see here. Is the first round 1-1 or 1-2? It's 1-2. 1-2. I think it used to be. Now, I may be wrong about this, Jason, but I think the Northern League, there was a time they could do 1-1-1. I think in the 90s they did. Because I remember a story Greg Taggart told me about how they had to play Calgary. I think it was Calgary. Calgary had a team in the league, in the Northern League in 90-something, 2000-something, early 2000s. And I believe they had to play Calgary and come back. And luckily they won the game at home when they came back, and they didn't have to go back or something along those lines. There was something along those lines in play. But Calgary was obviously not close to Gary. Calgary's not close to Winnipeg. How far is that from Matt Lloyd's family to Winnipeg? It was, 12 hours, something like that? 10 hours? So, anyway. Yeah. Okay, mom's just being ridiculous. Don't need her nonsense. See y'all duty calls. Oh, wife's teaching. Let's see you, Brett. Appreciate it, babe. Okay, let's get to the broadcast tonight. A couple things. I did for you Kansas City folks. I mentioned last night the Buck O'Neill connection, which I think is really cool for this franchise, and not for this necessarily for this group here, not the group that owns it, because I don't think that's their MO. Just be honest with you, okay? They can be mad at me if they want to. But for this city and for the way this city is, Buck O'Neill means a lot. And I unearthed the story and I talked about it last night, how the old Kansas City Monarchs would oftentimes play, and I've said this a bunch of times this year. They would go to the Siouxland and play games. Well, I found an instance that when the Sioux City Sioux were on the road sweeping Pueblo in a doubleheader in 1947, that the young Monarchs, who were led by Buck O'Neill at the time, 35-year-old Buck O'Neill, came through the Siouxland, played the Indianapolis Clowns in a Negro American League game in 1947, where 4,000 people showed up. And that roster would have had Goose Tatum, the former Harlem Globetrotter and star for the Clowns, would have had Newt Allen would have been on the Clowns Club, an old Newt Allen, but Newt Allen would have been an original Iowan / All Nations player from the early turn of the last century. He was in his 50s playing for the Clowns. The roster for the Monarchs, granted, I don't have the box score from that game, but that Monarchs club would have had O'Neill, Satchel Paige for a short time, would have had that. It had some pretty famous names on there. And but anyway, that was a game played at Sue's Park, which at the time was called Sue's Park, Stockyards Park, but Sue's Park, and played in 1947 while the Sioux were on the road playing over in Pueblo. So anyway, that's something I dug up. It was August 19th, not quite on this day, but August 19th, 1947. That'll be on the pregame show tonight. So anyway, kind of cool about that. It was because I couldn't find anything on this date, but I've mentioned it so many times that there's been a lot. And the Sioux play, and I found a story that I did last year for Kansas City, where the Sioux City Cowboys played the Monarchs there in front of about 3,000 change in a really good ball game. And it was written as the best game of the year. It was a 3-2 ball game. The Monarchs held on to win over the Stockyards. That had been 1938. So anyway, a lot of good stuff. Tonight, it's going to be. Now, I don't know a lot about the starter tonight for the Monarchs. Not brand new. I've not really done my prep yet, but they're going guy we've not seen, which usually it sort of bode well for the opponents this year. Aston Godot is the pitcher tonight. He's a right-hander, 2-0, 1.63, but he has the pedigree. And if you know what goes on around these parts, they just seem to grow them on a tree here. Some trees and Godot, numbers for him. He's from the area, I believe, but he pitched the big leagues 20, 21, and 22. Here for Cincinnati and Colorado, and last year for Colorado. I'm sorry, 2 years ago for Cincinnati and Colorado. Last year, Colorado, he was at a 7.08 in 12 ball games, 20 and third innings, all relief last year. Had a save. So he is going tonight. Numbers this year, to mention 2-0. I don't know the sample size, how big it is. Let's just pull that up here quickly. But it is his third start. I mean, he's what they do here. What they do here is get big leaguers left and right. That's what they do, and they're able to do it. I don't know how they do it. I know how they do it. I don't know how they do it. Okay, because you got to pay people. Obviously not your broadcaster, but you got to pay people. Just kidding. Sioux City. I'm talking about Sioux City, not Kansas City. 2-0, 11 innings. So he's got 11 innings, 13 hits, 2 earned runs, 13 strikeouts. What I did see the scouting report on him, a strikeout guy. This guy's a strikeout guy. And he is going to be around the plate. He's a guy that you can you're going to have to take some cuts, and I think it may require a bunt now and then too. But the X's have been very good in situational hitting lately. They've also been very good with the way this club is constructed now. That this is a little different lineup than what Godot hasn't seen yet, but a little different lineup what we threw out there maybe 3 weeks ago. But what they've been really good at, and this is something that's been going on the last couple of weeks. For a while there, they got stuck in their approach. Meaning, and you heard Mongo say, we haven't changed our approach, or we get to Sioux Falls and we do things differently, right? What then he talked about was, if the guys are on the plate, what do? Do we take we think that's going to be our best pitch? Let's be aggressive early. And if it dictates the count winds up, if he's not effectively, if he's ineffective, and he's I'm put it this way, if he's effectively wild, that's one thing. If he's ineffectively wild, meaning he's not around the strike zone, obviously you're not going to swing at everything, right? He's swinging the ball forward if it's, up here on your head. But I think if there's going to be a pitch you think you can hit, and you think that's where you want it, don't even worry about working the count to your favor. Get on him. Jump on him early. Jump on the count early. I think that's something that you'll see tonight, and I think that's sort of what this team has done. I think tonight, there's little pressure here on Sioux City. There's little pressure really in Kansas City. It's just a game. Granted, Kansas City wants to win it for their own fans. They want to clinch a division. It's all fine and dandy, but again, that's a division, and it's done. That's great. Like I told you, there's bigger things ahead for both teams. Sioux City wants to celebrate too. And a win tonight, they would do that, but there's bigger things ahead, like chasing a crown as well. So anyway, I think that it'll be interesting to see. I think too, for Kansas City benefit, it'll be interesting to see how Godot does against this lineup. Does this give them any kind of inkling to say, well, you know what, this guy is getting trouble for this club. I don't want to take our chances there with him. I assume their starter is Matson opening night in the postseason, but I don't know. It may be Godot, and they may change it up. They've done that before. Teams do that. This guy goes out and throws 7 strong, shuts you out. He's going to start next week, and that's probably what happens there in Sioux City. I think you can see that. But he goes out and gets knocked around a little bit. X's battle may change their approach too. So there's a lot of fun little subplots in this deal. and we'll see that as we go on. No, not doing the owner's suite. I don't think I'm allowed in there here. That's funny. I don't think they would even allow me in that suite. Don't be allowed. I walked by it last night, and I walked by the security. There was no security there, but I walked by there to the restroom. But no, I don't believe I'll be there, sir. Don't believe so. I will say this, and I'll be serious here. I enjoyed my time here. We really did. My wife and I enjoyed it. It did not end the way anyone should, but that's out of my control. I can't control that. What I can control is what I do going forward, and I'm proud as punch to be part of Sioux City. I love what we're doing. I love the fact I'm on real radio, that I'm actually on a real radio station that people actually can hear in 3 different states. We actually do a radio broadcast, home and away. I'm proud of that. Our little show here is not fancy. It doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles. It's to talk to you guys and build a rapport with y'all. It's good to know the fans in Sioux City. We had a late start on that. So I'm excited about what I've got going on. Yeah, sure. And I always have a special place, in my heart in Kansas City, but there's not a lot of love lost, let's be honest. They're not wanting me here, and I'm not wanting to be here except with this team. And I hope that the Texans win tonight. Yeah, it's great to see friendly faces. It's great to see old friends. It's great to see the ballpark. The ballpark's in great shape. The ballpark is beautiful. I love the city. The city was great. Was good to me. But that ship's sailed, man. And as every day goes on, every time I come here, I thought that a lot last night, night before last. How would I feel second time through? Every time I get better. I loved my time here. I love the people here. The fans love me. The people here love me. The ones that made the decisions didn't. They made a decision to move on, and I'm very thankful. I love where I'm at. I'm so thankful for that. And I wouldn't trade this opportunity for the world. And my wife is so happy about Sioux City. We're happy what we're doing there. I'm happy. There's so many things we're going to be doing. Just little ads here and there, little additions that no one's going to maybe notice until, oh, that's what he's talking about. Little things. It took me during the season to get them all added in there, and some of them are still not there yet. And we're going to be adding some things. I mean, when I told Steve Montgomery I'd love to get it live on the air in the post game sometime, he's like, really, that's kind of cool. Like Jack does in Fargo. Yeah. Like Jack does in Fargo. So, yeah. Anyway. Anyway. All right, guys. Thanks for you guys here locally, too. And looking forward to seeing you guys tonight. And you guys in the air tonight. Broadcast time tonight will be again, I sort of messed up last night. I had 7:05 in my head. It's 7 o'clock. It cost us 5 minutes in the pregame. We made it up. Luckily, not luckily, but we used it during the long delay that got Trenton Topicar ready. We had to do something, and we ran the quick 1 minute on this date. But tonight, Baseball TV, they got a really cool screen here that's got a temperature and all that stuff. So they got amazing bells and whistles here. So that was a nice investment to bring the bells and whistles in, I guess. So there's that. But Baseball TV, which is great product, $14.99 per month. And then right here, we got KSCJ. And again, radio side. Love being here. It's always great to see my old mates. But I am an explorer through and through, very fired up, and representing this ball club is my thing. And here in Sioux City with class and dignity, and that's what I'm doing tonight. And again, it's great to see you folks here locally, and great you folks back in Siouxland and across the world watching on Facebook Live tonight. The X's and Kansas City, a lot going on here. The X's tonight just need a win, and they clinch a postseason spot. They need one win of the next 7 or a Lincoln loss is basically the way it is. We also do know that Sioux Falls is close. Fargo is close as well, but they got to probably wait. I think this goes down probably the weekend. Fargo does their job. If Fargo stumbles tonight, that makes a very interesting ball game tomorrow night with Lincoln. So anyway, yes, wait for the owner's suite. I will not be allowed in there. That's the bizarre thing. It's bizarre. Didn't get a wave. Odd. Okay, guys. Love you guys. See the broadcast tonight. Again, 6:30. And we'll come your way at 7 o'clock from Legends Field. A great broadcast facility, great ballpark. And it should be a good one tonight. Seeing a guy you haven't seen. And hold the door for me. Sneak me in, right? It's all good. I want to be where I want to be, which is in that broadcast booth, calling the game for Sioux City and celebrating, regardless, the great thing we've got going on in the Siouxland with our operations. So proud to be part of that. All righty. I'll see you guys at the broadcast tonight. Make sure I didn't miss anything here. All righty. You guys ready for some 1, 2, 3? There's Ron. By the way, Ron, I love your photo. Ron, you need to put like some kind of cool photo. You do, off topic, but Ron does a really cool photo album. Sort of on, he does them every game, or maybe every game, I think, or every homestand, but he puts from his seats, and I love it. I love when people put their shots in the seats because I don't see that view. My view is a little different. I don't get that view that you guys get. So I love the fact that he does that view from up top. It's really kind of cool. I love it. So we love seeing that. So anyway, here we go. All right. 1, 2, 3, go X's. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, go X's. I'll see the broadcast tonight, everybody, and see you tomorrow right here on Facebook Live.